Live from the Drew Estate Cigar Studios in the great state of New Hampshire, the Gurkha Cigar Studios in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, and from beautiful Indian Trail, North Carolina. Welcome to the Spare Notes series with your hosts, Matt Tabacco, Kevin Acuff, and William Cooper.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Spare Notes series. My name is Matt Tabacco from SmokinTobacco.com, and I'm joined once again by my very good friends, Mr. Kevin Acuff and William Cooper. And it's our first show back in a little bit. We've all been traveling. We're all at PCA, and now we're finally here, and we're back together, and we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the trade show. Obviously tonight it's going to be our actual recap show. There's going to be some good things we talk about. There's going to be some negative things to talk about. I'm just warning you all. Some of it's not going to be nice. So buckle up and get ready to roll. Gentlemen, how are you?
I'm good. Good.
Nice.
Doing good. Tired.
Yeah.
Early morning. Out jeeping all morning.
Yeah. You guys
Full
look tired.
podcast day today, yeah.
Well, it's true what they say, the older guys, they run out of gas at like 5 o'clock. That's why you guys eat dinner so early. So I'm not
Actually,
surprised.
we eat pretty late. We eat dinner pretty late here. We eat usually 7:30. So
Do
it's
you?
not the case. Yeah. Yeah, and actually, I ate real late because I recorded Jukebox at 5 today. So I didn't eat till probably about an hour ago.
Nicole made a nice chicken thigh recipe in the air fryer. We had some salad.
Nice.
We're dieting again.
Well, if the Jose, fat shamed you again, maybe that's.
No.
He didn't this year.
No, he didn't. He was nice to me this year.
Okay.
Actually, no, he wasn't. I take that back.
No,
I forgot.
He most definitely fat shamed you when we were in the booth.
That's right, because Kevin was there. Kevin was with me in the Fuente booth, and I almost forgot. Thank you, Kevin. Because I said, "Hey, Jose, I've slimmed down." I said I slimmed down a little bit, and he just goes,
No.
He
no,
looks.
no,
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 he looks at me and shakes his head as he's walking away. He's
No,
like,
that's you.
Take care of this guy. Get him to lose some weight.
he looked at me and he went, "Not a fucking chance," and he just kept going. I was like,
Yeah, he didn't even say anything when Matt.
and I was just like,
said that to him. He
I was like,
just
Jose,
shakes
don't be
his
a
head.
dick. And
No,
I mean,
salads really work.
I love Jose. I know, I really do.
I know.
I love Jose. Hey, Coop, that reminds me. I don't want to say that because we've never really fully disclosed details on the air, but I just I don't want to forget. You remember that thing that happened? Was it last year or 2 years ago with the lady from Europe? And
Yes.
we called Jose. So there's developments in that story, and I need
Wait,
to.
it's not over. I thought that story was gone forever.
Well, it doesn't really involve me, but remind me that there's been developments in that story, and it actually
Okay.
involves Jose, and I don't think he knows it. It involves his cousin, but I'll tell you more after. So
Okay.
but you're gonna be like, oh, what the fuck? Anyway, yeah, another thing that happened today that I thought was kind of funny, and maybe Coop won't find it funny, but it was at his expense. I know Kevin thought it was funny, but
absolutely, I thought it was funny.
Oh yeah, I mean Jay Davis. So we post the promo for tonight's show as we always do, and Jay Davis. I don't know. Maybe he has an axe to grind with you, Coop. I don't know what his problem is.
Oh,
but-
I kind of rode him hard yesterday on a few things, so I'm sure he does.
I mean, I love Jay Davis.
I love Jay
Genuinely,
too,
I
but
spent a lot of time with him at the show.
He
So,
heard my rant on something yesterday, so.
oh man, so his ass is probably still a little bit sore.
Yeah.
Because he came out swinging and just taking shots at Coop, being like, "Can we get an updated photo of Coop on the advertisement for the Spare Note show?" And he
What's
said,
wrong with the photo?
and he said, "Oh, he goes, this is an old photo of Coop. It's not, it's not accurate. And he still has his camera that he got from Christopher Lee."
Yo, Fred Ruiz comment was actually one of the better ones. He says, "Yeah, only realtors can use 20-year-old photos."
That's true. That's fucking true.
You gotta love Fred. And Coop's like, I hate everybody right now.
No.
Coop's
I
looking
mean,
at it being like, oh, God, here we go.
no. I mean, I go back to James Garner with Polaroid commercials. I mean, so. I mean,
Well-
when James Garner did Polaroid commercials, I'm in that boat.
To be fair, and this wasn't a knock against you, Coop. I just said I don't really have a lot of photos to choose from because you don't really. There's not a lot of like portraits of you. You know what I mean? Like a lot of your photos.
Right.
So, and that's not a negative thing. It's just there's just not a lot. So
Right.
I just we used what we had, and
fine.
you've never been upset about it. So okay, if it did, I'd be like, all right, well then take a good headshot and send it to me, and we'll change it out. But if you're happy with it, I'm happy with it.
I'm fine with it. I'm comfortable. I can go to sleep at night with no problem with it.
Man, there's nothing like being trapped, and like you can't like there's something going down, and you can't. You just have to. You ever like been in a situation where like not like literally, but like like your house is burning down, and you just have to stand there and watch it go? That's what's happening right now with my favorite snacks that are no longer at Costco, and I don't know where else to get them. And Nicole's just chipping away at them. So, what am I gonna do?
But there's nothing saying that you can't eat turtle chips on the show. You just have to mute your mic when you crunch.
I don't have them
Right.
with me, and I can't go get them. It's fine.
Well, whose
Right.
fault is that?
I know. Well, I know. As long as she's happy, that's all I care about.
That's keep her happy. It's
Yeah.
I mean, one of my bosses always had like he called it the 7 P's. Let's see if I can get it. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance.
Yep.
So see, had you properly prepared, you would have had your chips ready.
Yeah, I know. I forgot all about them. It's been a long day. We've had a lot going on, so it is what it is. If she's happy, then whatever. I don't care. But I just hope there's some left when I get up there. But no, it's good to be back. It's great to be with you, gentlemen. PCA was fun. It was tiring as usual, but it was good. A lot of takeaways from that show. Coop, I know you have probably some axes you want to grind on that too, as well as probably a lot of positives. And we'll get into all of that. So, first of all, let's talk about what we're smoking. I'm smoking some stuff from the show, and we'll get into it. Coop, we'll start with you. Kevin, you finish us off. You continue us, and then I'll finish us off. So.
Yeah. So this is a day. I haven't not smoked this yet. This is the CAO Fasa Noche.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This was a new release at the show, so I'm gonna be popping the cherry on this thing tonight. See how it goes. I have not smoked this one yet, so I wanted to. So yeah, give it a shot and see. But I thought actually, and we'll get into it. I thought General had a pretty good show this year, so we'll get into that a little more.
I did too, and you're right. We'll circle back, but
Yeah.
I agree. Kevin, what you got?
I actually am not smoking a release from this year. It's actually was released last year. It's the Foreign Affair from
Luciano.
Luciano and
Yep.
my good friend Mike. Put that release together. It's just a very mellow cigar. It kind of has almost like a Cuban cigar vibe to it. It has those notes and that
Medium,
profile
mild,
to it.
mild, medium, a little bit of floral, a little bit of spice,
A little bit of musty. A little bit of musty.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, that's about right for a Cuban.
It's actually very good.
Yeah, I think I smoked it. I only smoked one, and I think I smoked it like last year. And I'll tell you, man, doing what we do, like, and people get like I'll say this, and people go right to like the offensive, like, oh, must not have been memorable. No, it's not. That's not what it is. When you do what we do, and you smoke what we smoke, like the amount, It's very and if you don't smoke it enough, it's very easy to smoke something and you can be like, wow, this is great, and then just completely forget about it. I smoked it. I'm pretty sure I liked it. I don't remember hating that cigar. I usually can. I might not remember what the cigar was, but I usually can remember like if like when I think about it, like oh, like I think I liked it, or I'll remember like I don't think I liked it. But I couldn't tell you like oh yeah, well I liked it because of this. You just forget. There's so many cigars that after a while they start to bleed together. I'm not gonna lie. And Coop, you've been doing this a long time too. I know you probably. Yeah. I mean it's. So yeah, I mean I think I've had it. I'm pretty sure I liked it, but I haven't revisited it in a while. That's my takeaway on that. But I am smoking a cigar that I've been waiting to try. Well, there's multiple cigars that, in their portfolio, but this is a brand that I haven't actually smoked before, and I'm finally smoking it on the show tonight. And I'm smoking the Sens Perel, I think that's how you say it, Blue. This is a brand that I was very curious about. I had seen them before, heard about them. I know they're not in a lot of shops. The cigar is made by Tabacco Palma, and I met them at the show. David was. I said, we did an interview with David, and I think we're gonna have him on the show coming up. And great people, really, really great people. That's the first thing I'll say. Everyone in that booth was really great.
Regret not getting there, because the previous guy who ran that company was not a great person. So I'm glad to hear that.
David, these guys were great.
Yeah. And I regret not. It's unfortunate we can't get there. And that was one that, man, we missed that one. I'll get them down on the Coop show down the road. But yeah, I was bummed we didn't get to them. That's.
And I'll say, so far, I mean, I just lit it. So far, the cigar is pretty good. It's got some good complexity to it right off the bat. A lot of smoke production. Draws great. The construction, the cigar feels right. It draws very well. Looking at the wrapper on this, I mean, the wrapper looks good. A little veiny on one side, but nothing really crazy. It's overall it's a well-made cigar. I want to smoke the whole thing obviously to give a full assessment, but so far, I mean, I got nothing that's making me. I got no red flags. Nothing that's making me like, oh, we'll see how it goes. So far everything's good. Burning almost very even. To be quite honest with you, burning very even, and all of their bands seem to be the same, metallic colored with like the silver like rings going around, and then all the lines are different colors. So this is the blue line. There's a purple. There's a green. There's a gold line. I can't remember.
The green's the new one.
The green's a new one.
But it's Tabacco Palma. I went to that factory at Pro Cigars, and look, they have. Really, I mean, they do really good work there. And Hochi is, I believe, a co-owner in that brand.
I think he is. Yeah.
He wasn't the guy I was referring. He's a great guy. They had another guy running the company. He was just very eccentric. So but the new, it's David Swinburne, I think it is.
Yes, great guy.
I really regret not talking to him. Yeah, he seems like a really good guy from the interactions I've had on email. So yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy. We're trying to get him scheduled to come on the show to talk more about this brand. Yep. Really excited about that. And like I said, they couldn't have been any nicer and accommodating and courteous at the booth. Not a big brand, but they're doing the right things. That
premiums with the tobacco is good tobacco. They have that was never a question about that brand. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's good tobacco. There's no doubt about that.
There's a lot of good stuff coming out of that factory right now, too.
Yeah, I was so impressed with that factory when I was down there at Pro Cigar. So it's really good to see this. Or hear this from you, yeah.
Yeah, that's it's something we'll have to maybe follow up in the future. But yeah, I'd feel the same way. So far from what I've seen and what I've smoked, I've been very happy with. Let's also not forget our friends at SD Dupont, who are always with us, featuring the Line 2 with the perfect ping, Slide Roll Flint. That's my favorite lighter, my soft flame. You got the biggies.
Slimmy,
Biggie. My Biggie, I think, is in my office upstairs, and I just keep forgetting to grab it. Les, man, did you find your Biggie lighter? Hello, hello, Coop, hello, Kevin. I believe it's in my office upstairs. That's where I think I've
We had a
narrowed it down to.
Great visit we had with Les, by the way.
At the
we
trade
spent
show?
a lot of time at this. Yeah, we were with Les. We were
Oh,
Elaine. Really, I got to sit in the Game of Thrones chair, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was one of the cooler things, and it was funny when we got to the booth. The guy's like, "Can we sit in that chair?" I said, "I don't think so. I think that's the Hollywood chair," and it was, but we were allowed to sit in it, which was really cool.
So, according to Nicole, who's a major Game of Thrones fan, it's not the actual chair. The actual chair that's actually made out of like swords and shit is in Croatia.
Uh-huh.
The one that they used when they filmed the show that's made out of real swords and shit is, according to Nicole, is in Croatia. And it's much bigger, from what I understand. But I thought it was still cool that they had that there. They had the girls there all dressed up, and they had and that's the thing with SD Dupont.
They were very charming. They were very charming. Those girls, yeah.
Yeah, of course. And the SD Dupont, it seems to me like they always have like they bring multiple collections and stuff to the shows, right? But there's always that one collection that's really the highlight. Last year it was the Le Mans collection.
Yep.
And they had the whole spread out for the Le Mans and all that. And this year was Game of Thrones. Although they had other stuff that they introduced that we'll talk about.
And Padron, and they collaborated on the Padron thing, which was really cool.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was what I was going to say next. Yeah. And they did the Padron 60th collection for Padron.
Yeah.
Which all of us were in the Padron booth when George, Les, and Elaine from SD Dupont unveiled it in the booth, and that was something special too. So, very, very, very cool. Now here's JJ.
Can I go back to the Game of? Can I say something about the Game of Thrones thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
So is it bad? Like I literally have never seen an episode of it and have no desire to do so.
I'm in the same boat. I joke around. I call it Dungeons and Dragons. But I became a fan after going to the booth with Les. That's what I'm saying. I may give it a shot.
So did you watch the show? So Coop, did you start watching?
I watched it once. I couldn't get into it, right? But now I'm like, I think I got to give the show a chance. After being in the booth, I'm serious now.
So are you a fan because of Les, or are you a fan because of the girls that Les had in the booth?
Don't get him in trouble with Lisa. Come on.
I'm gonna give. I'm a fan because Les got the girls in the booth. Okay.
There you go.
Wow. Unfortunately, I think that's the right answer.
That's the right answer.
I gotta give Les credit. I mean, and look, I gotta say, those accessories were awesome looking. Okay. I'm like, this is really cool. I'm like, I think I got to give this another chance.
Yeah, the line is outstanding.
All right, hold on. I have to say something before Nicole gets all upset and doesn't want to watch. For the record, I've told Nicole that I was in the same boat. I didn't want to watch the show, and I originally had watched it, a few episodes. I couldn't get into it, and then there was people who kept trying to force me into it and overhype it, and it just pushed me away, and I was just like, shut the fuck up. I don't care. But I have told Nicole I will watch it with her because I know she loves the show and it means a lot to her, and I said I will give it another go if you want to watch it together, and we just haven't had the opportunity to do that yet.
I mean, the only HBO series you need is there's three. You got The Sopranos, Sons of Anarchy,
greatest of all time.
Sons of Anarchy.
Good show.
And Band of Brothers.
I don't think I ever saw Band of Brothers.
Nothing else matters.
Oh, no, you got to put Boardwalk Empire in there.
That was a good show, but I don't know if I put that in the top 5.
Oh, that was great. Nookie, he was great.
It was, Coop, it was a good show, but I don't know if I'd put that in top 5.
I love that show. The other one that was really good, I wouldn't put it top 5, but I really liked it, was Arliss.
Which one?
That was a story about the sports agent, and they had all sports stars on every week.
Oh, Ballers?
Arliss, yeah.
Oh, I remember that show.
Yeah.
I remember that show. Was it The Rock who was
it was The Rock was in that. That was
I remember that show. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
that
think
was
I
a good-
watched the whole thing, but I
Yeah.
saw enough of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got to put Entourage in there. Entourage is like,
come on.
Entourage is unbelievable.
Absolutely. I can't believe it took us this long to even say Entourage. I mean, look, Entourage is kind of like a boys' buddy show, but you can't take away the fact that outside of that, I mean, it was a very unique show. I mean, the only other show that's come kind of close to that feel, I'd say, is like Curb Your Enthusiasm with all the celebrity cameos. I
Yeah.
mean, which is you got to give that one credit too. I mean, that's a show that's up there too.
Right.
But I mean, it's fucking Larry David. But I mean, Entourage was special because of I loved the story. I like the four main characters. Ari Gold, obviously. I mean, one of the greatest characters of all time. But the way the show was, I mean, you had so many like celebrity cameos. Like every episode, you had tons of them, and there was just
Yeah.
constantly new people like coming on. You're like, oh shit, he's on the show now. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of names.
Yeah, and they kind of played themselves, but they played different characters of themselves, if that makes sense,
Like fictional versions of themselves. Yeah.
Fictional version of themselves. Yeah, that's what was so unique about that.
And it was funny because it's like you're watching like what seems to be like them actually being themselves and doing real situations, but it's not.
Right.
And it was just it's fun. There was something fun about that theme.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Entourage is up there too. HBO. And you got to give. I'll give the credit to Game of Thrones because I know it has such a massive fan base. It's. When you think about it, though, Sopranos, Entourage, Game of Thrones, you can throw Boardwalk Empire in there. They're all HBO shows, and I know there's Showtime, there was Cinemax back in the, I think it's just Max and HBO's combined now, but back in the day, when you had all the different premium cable networks, I mean HBO. And they all had shows. Showtime had Shameless, which I think was a great show. Another like British TV show remake. If anyone saw that, I thought it was it was a great show. But HBO, yeah, they had the majority of all like the iconic shows. I mean, HBO's king. And you guys, are a lot older than me. And I only say that because you guys have been around longer. When like you guys were around when HBO was like fucking HBO. Now it's just kind of like another app on the TV and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like you guys will probably remember like when HBO was like, oh, you have HBO. Oh shit, I'm going to your house because they have HBO.
Oh yeah,
And
it was
that
big
meant
time
something.
back in the day.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
meant something once upon a time.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a premium service you had back then, yeah.
Yeah, I remember in the 90s and the 2000s, like when I was a kid, like you'd be driving by like hotels and stuff, and they advertised like, oh, we have HBO. Like that was like a thing. Now it's like that's not really anything special. But like, same with MTV. I'm sure like you guys remember like when MTV actually was like oh shit, like they play music videos and like this is awesome. Now it's just garbage.
We remember when video killed the radio star.
Yeah. So I mean, it's but when you think back, like, HBO was like iconic. They had because they had all of those shows, and then of course they had all the pay-per-view. Like, all the Tyson fights and all the other big like fights, they were all like HBO pay-per-view and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, it's not what it used to be. TV now is just, I don't know. I couldn't tell you a new show that I'm watching that I like.
No, it is not really.
I watch all reruns because, I don't know, everything that comes out now is just,
I mean, Barb and I are a fan of like the TV, like the crime shows, like SWAT and like the FBI, like FBI and FBI International and FBI Most Wanted and that kind of stuff. We like those. I mean, those are entertaining. But almost all those are canceled. They're after this season, they're gone. So TV will suck again.
Yeah. It's I don't know. Just I used to watch a lot of TV when I was a kid. I didn't really have much else to do. Oh, Les Mann brings up another good one too. Sex and the City. I mean, I was never like a Sex and the City person, but look, listen, the three of us did not watch Sex and the City. Let's just say that now and be done with it. But from a like iconic show.
Okay.
I mean,
Like impact, like a market impact.
yeah,
level.
I
It
mean,
was massive.
there was a massive audience for Sex in the City. We didn't watch it, but you can't deny that it was a major show. That's another one on the HBO list, of course. Yeah, I mean, again, it's just another show that was like exploded. It was on HBO. I mean, HBO was king. And now, like, I don't know. I don't think, do they even have exclusive shows anymore? I mean, I think Game of
They have
Thrones
some.
was
They
like,
had that, that I didn't like it. Succession. I tried to watch it. It was
Oh, yeah.
unwatchable. I
Oh,
know
yeah.
people liked it, but I just thought it was the same tired thing every week. It had its moments, but it wasn't a great. I wouldn't put it up. It's not even close to The Sopranos. I mean,
yeah.
The Sopranos is the greatest show ever created. In my opinion, I mean, there's never going to be another show like The Sopranos.
Don't they have a new one coming out? It's like I saw a commercial, and I don't know if it's HBO that has it or not, but it's basically like a band of brothers or Pacific type, and this time it's about bomber pilots in World War II, like the P-17 pilots, and it's a series based on them and their adventure.
Oh, is that the one? Is that the one that's the kid who played Elvis is in it?
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
the stars. I remember I've seen a couple commercials, but I really haven't seen too
Yeah,
awful much for it. But I was like, oh wow, actually, they're actually going to have another series that's coming on that I'm actually. Probably gonna watch.
If it's the show I'm thinking of, that's on Apple TV Plus.
Okay, so it's not HBO.
And I think that's the show you're talking about, and I've seen it. Like I've not the show, but I've seen like the little clips of it, and and I'm always saying like, you know what, I do kind of want to check that out. Because the kid who played Elvis in the Elvis movie there, what's his name? Austin Butler. I did like him. I was like, yeah, he was good. So I'd watch that show.
Well, I think Tom Hanks actually has.
Barbara
something to
said
do with it.
Sopranos ending sucked. Barbara, we need to have a discussion, okay? The Sopranos ending, when it first aired, was very confusing. But when you look back, The Sopranos, like, we know what The Sopranos ending means.
Yeah, but you have to understand that she watched Sopranos for the first time.
When?
So that was her first time experiencing it just recently.
Oh,
Like
man.
we actually binge watched The Sopranos, so she
All right.
watched it. So
I have to do this because I feel responsible to do this. So you have to understand something, and there's been many theories as to what the ending of The Sopranos is, and I think the very popular one is the one that makes sense. If you go back to the lake vacation episode when Carmela and Tony go up to see Bobby and Janice at the lake when they get into the fight, and Tony and Bobby are in the boat, and Bobby says to Tony, and I'm paraphrasing here because I don't know the exact dialogue, but it goes something like this. He's like, do you know when it happens? And they're talking about like when you die, or like in their case when you get killed. And Bobby says, do you like know when it happens, or is it just like does it just end? And they kind of talk about like when you die, like do you feel it, do you know it, or does everything just stop? And a lot of people take that a conversation that happened very late in the show as when you follow the ending of that episode, and when the music is playing, you get "Don't Stop Believin'," and like just mid-sentence, you hear the door to the diner open. Tony picks his head up, and it stops. And the theory and the implied mentality is, someone comes in, Tony looks up, he's shot, and that's it. You're gone.
I agree. I agree with you on that.
yeah,
and
I
that
agree
is-
that
and
that's
that-
what-
and
I
it's
agree that
implied-
that's what it was supposed to be
Yeah.
as well.
And it's implied that he looks up and everything stops like in the middle because he looks up and he dies, and that's it, and that's how it ends.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most logical theory. So,
Yeah.
and it at the time it kind of sucks, but when you like go back and you kind of rewatch the show again and you like look at, you're like, oh, okay, and it made more sense.
Sopranos was so Alan Rubin says Sopranos was relative, but it was overrated. Is Alan Rubin is early to like can we just ban him from the show now?
Alan
Do you
Rubin
have
is
like a-
overrated.
Yeah, I'm both.
Do you have an eject button for Alan Rubin? That's like an ejectable. That's an
That's a
ejectable.
federal.
offense.
That's a. I agree.
We don't need that idiotic nonsense on this show. Alan Rubin's overrated. Like, shut the fuck up. don't come onto my show and talk about
It's
the
not
Sopranos that
democracy
way.
here, Alan.
You know,
Not a democracy.
you're not gonna talk about the Sopranos on my show like that. Get the fuck out of here. Come on. Seriously. Eastbound and Down. That was a fun show. I'm not gonna lie. That was. If you guys saw that one, it's not a serious show, but like, if you want a good laugh, I mean, that was a funny show. It was dumb, but it was funny. Anyway, let's move on from the shows.
Move on.
Yeah. Anyway, let's talk about the trade show. So, last trade show in Vegas for a little while. I'm not doing this. So, last trade show in Vegas for a while. Next year is going to be in New Orleans. 2026 will be in New Orleans. 2027 is, I believe.
Well, we heard 2026 in New Orleans. Let's just say that. No one still officially told me that. I had to read about it elsewhere.
We don't have official dates yet.
Yeah. So,
but I've like you two.
I had to read about it from someone else, on that. I'm just saying. But let's go. Continue, Matt.
Jay told me the next 2 years are in New Orleans.
Well, but we heard, we knew that. Yeah, we did know that. But
so I mean,
we were also told not to say anything yet about it. But then, I'm going to keep quiet.
Matt just ran Jay under the bus.
No. I thought that was public knowledge.
No, I had to read about it on Half Wheel. So, I mean, that was the problem.
I thought that was public knowledge at this point. I mean, everyone fucking said it.
It really wasn't.
Am I really letting a cat out of the bag?
No. You didn't let the cat out of the bag. You let out of the bag yesterday.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like 2027. I've heard mixed reports of, like, it could be either one.
I would. That's 2 years down the road. I'm not even worried about that yet. Yeah.
No. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But anyway, good show in the Las Vegas Convention Center.
Yeah.
Look, the PCA's come a long way. And they've made a lot of changes. Some of them, I think, have been very well received. Some of them have had, mixed reception. But I think the overall, even when the people who maybe not fully agree, I think they understood. And attendance has been up, and that first day of the show this year, I mean, it was probably the busiest I've ever seen the show in my 4 or 5 years going. It was slammed. So I think that's a great thing. Now,
the busiest first day I remember in a decade.
Yeah,
for me, it was very busy.
Yeah, Saturday was nuts.
Outside of that, the next thing is, all right, well, what about, what we saw at the show? This is the part of the conversation I think, most people want to hear about. When we've talked about this going into the show, I think that with the fast turnaround time, with the schedule change to the early spring, I don't think we saw as many new and exciting products as we're normally used to, and I think that that's because there was a lot of people who couldn't get things done on time. I think there's a lot of people who don't always bring something new, and 9 months or 8 months after the last show, they're not going to bring something because their business model doesn't support already bringing back something even less than a year. So I mean, then that made sense. Now there was new products, and there was I think enough to talk about, but on the whole, and Coop, you and I talked about this even going into the trade show, there wasn't as many announcements as there usually is. Like normally, like our inboxes are flooded with, we're bringing this, we're bringing this, we're bringing this, we're bringing this, we're bringing this. We didn't. I mean, we got them, but it was not like it was the last couple of years. Kind of quiet.
No, what? Yeah, there wasn't. You're right, and there wasn't like a lot that was held back for the show either. It was less. It was less for sure. It was definitely less. I was actually doing some actual data tracking going into the show, and it was without a doubt, it was the lowest year I remember in probably ever.
But at the same time, show was busy.
Yep.
Seems like everyone did pretty well.
Yeah, the foot traffic, like you guys said, the foot traffic on Saturday was insane. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
like I've only been involved in the
Yeah.
media side since
Yeah.
2018,
Yeah,
and I mean, go ahead, Coop.
he's jumping ahead of my conversation here, but go ahead and continue.
Oh, it's like I was just saying. I mean, I've only been on the media side since 2018. I mean, I've actually worked both sides of the show. I've worked it as the media, and I've worked it, in from the manufacturer side with Alec Bradley and
Room
my
101.
good buddy Matt Booth at Room 101. I mean, I will say since 18, I mean, first day foot traffic, by far the most I've seen since I've
Yeah,
been doing this.
absolutely.
But it just seemed like to me. Now, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but it just seemed to me it just didn't have like there was like the buzz was missing. Maybe I don't know. It was busy, but it just didn't have the buzz
There-
that I've seen at previous shows.
Yeah, there wasn't. I do think the opening day was really good. I'll say that there was a lot of buzz until we got to the nachos at the party. But they had a
Oh
really,
my
really
God, we're gonna talk about this again.
well, you guys beat it up worse than we beat it up on Monday night. Actually, I heard Ty's show,
Mhm,
but no, and but yeah, I agree. Padron's 60th was the big thing. And look, I gotta put ST Dupont's Game of Thrones was a big deal. That they really went out with that whole release too. But there weren't a lot. Like, if you go back 2 years ago, we had Fuente Padron. There was a lot of bigger releases, it seemed like, in previous years than this year. As far as I saw it, it was just LaFleur 30th was the other one. I'll say that was probably those are the two big anniversary ones this year.
Right. And I'm just wondering, as we get into next year with, now the time frame is basically, now you have an equal time frame as you've had in the past. Is that buzz that you've seen from when it was had a summer date? Is that buzz and the new releases and the like kind of the heavier amount of new releases and things that are going to make a significant impact to the show? Is that going to return for next year, do you think?
I think, and I have confidence it will. Like I said, I think this was an off-cycle year for us. And I know Padron wanted to get the 60th out there, right? That I think that was a big deal. LaFleur 30s. AJ had the 20th. The AJ 20th, it seemed like they were a little more low key about it than LaFleur and Padron were.
Yeah, I agree. No one really talking about it.
Yeah, so. But a lot of companies, like my father had 3 releases and they hardly really talked about them before the show, which I was surprised about. But they did that last year too, and the year before. They kind of don't talk. They kind of wait for the show really to show it. General had, I think General surprised a lot of people. They didn't have a ton of releases. General, like I thought I would expect about 14 or 15 releases. It was like 5 or 6. It was a lot less than I thought actually.
Yeah, General had some stuff. Nicole just reminded me. Tatawahe did too. Tatawahe?
They had a lot.
Yeah, they had a lot of
stuff.
Big change. Cajonio. It was like the big year for Cajonio. For sure. But yeah, Tatawahe. But Pete said that's like his 2000. Most of his stuff for 2024. So what you got there? You got the preview the stuff, and he's going to be releasing that throughout the whole year. EPC had a lot of stuff too. EPC showed off 6 new lines actually, and one is currently shipping, but the other is going to ship over the next few months.
Yeah. So I feel like there was, and Saka had what, like 5?
Saka had a great
things.
Look, Umbagog Bronzeback was my pick for Cigar of the show, and it did very well. And it was really a good cigar on top of that. I don't think it was my number 1 cigar of the show, but it was probably in my top 3.
Yeah. He comes up in conversation because he's one of those companies and he's one of those people where, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, what he does or what he says or how much he tries to downplay it. You know, he's gonna tell you like, this is what I'm bringing to the show. Oh my God, doing a Lancero collection for God's sakes. Like,
I was gonna buy my Lanceros.
and I bet you he sold more of those things than most people sold, if anything. I mean,
he made Lanceros.
It's ridiculous.
He made Lanceros relevant at this show.
He did.
Like no one else has before. When has anyone had that much? That's why he was my company to show. When has anyone been able to create a buzz about Lanceros ever? Ever. I mean, it's just, and he did it at a trade show and before the trade show.
It's true.
Well, what's funny is he did it with his Now Leave Me the Hell Alone, the original Lancero release.
Right.
What was that, 3 years ago? 4 years? Was that 4 years ago?
Yeah.
You know, it's like I actually still have a box of those, you know, and it's just like to be able to have that and then like basically rebuild that energy and take it to the next level. That was outstanding. I mean, and I mean, there's not many people other than Saka that could probably pull that off.
You know.
And just because
John
he does it like Saka does.
John asked Coop, taking just the last 3 PCA shows, which would you say was the best?
Last year.
Me too.
Last year first, this year
Agreed.
second, 2022 third. I know Jay disagrees, but and this is not saying 2020 was. I say 2024. I gave the show a B. All right, it was a little higher B, I would say last year, but there was a few. You know, look, and I can Monday morning quarterback why it was. I don't know if that's really worth it. Is what I'm saying. I'm sure some of the things, the shortcomings will come out tonight, but I don't want a Monday morning quarterback. I think last year was a little better. Yeah.
I agree. I feel like, you know, as a team, how we covered it. Also, I felt the best last year. I think we actually covered it better this year, but I'm still thinking show overall experience last year was better. Yeah, I agree. Just the overall.
Yeah.
The overall vibe of the show last year, just I don't know. This was a good show.
It was a very good show. First of all, like you knocked a half a day off the show. I mean, you did. You kind of, you know, and I thought it kind of killed the momentum after day. You know, it just was shorter. I mean, and I think there's something, as much as the half day had to go.
I know you disagree on this topic, but what I will tell you, and maybe, you know, because I know you heard the show when I was on.
Oh yeah, you know what I've already talked about it. Yeah,
I know, but what I will say is I know what your arguments are. For me, when I have to answer that question, you know, I do try to answer it for everybody because I mean that's what we do, but at the same time I have to answer it for myself and my team first, and I just felt that without the half day, which don't get me wrong, if it was there, we would have taken advantage of it. No question about it, but without it. I still feel like we covered enough ground that I walked out of the show being like, we got enough. And I felt good about what we did. Now,
that's one thing, but to say there was no impact, which you guys were talking about on Matt's show, is another thing. There was an impact. We lost time. There's no way around that.
We did.
I understand what you're saying.
I mean, you maybe lost time maybe as far as access to you know the manufacturers and whatnot from the media standpoint when there's less people around, but as far as from a pure like time standpoint, it was the same amount of hours because you had the extra hour added on to 3 days. So in reality, you lost an hour.
The first day the extra 20 minutes instead of the extra hour.
Well,
so,
the show ran and. From instead of ending at 5, it ended at 6. So you picked up an extra hour each day. We didn't get the extra hour in, but the show itself lasted an hour longer than the show has lasted previously. So in reality, we lost an hour.
So you know how many manufacturers were there between? Like there were manufacturers strolling in at 11 on some of those days. So we lost. I mean, definitely, that's the problem we had. There was guys who were not ready to do business when the show opened. That's where this was all impacting it.
I'm not arguing that, but I mean, are those guys? Those are also the guys that aren't going to be there on that half day, anyhow. So
yeah, and then there were people packing up at 3:30, and then we get to there were 2 booths between 4 and 5 that was shut down already. And I don't want to call out the names. Major companies, not small companies.
Don Dirtale left early. I'll just say it. They left a whole day early.
Yeah, they were gone on Monday. That booth was never even set up on Monday morning.
They were gone.
But again, I think there was an impact because of now we ended up one thing we did do. We split our team, which we didn't know how we were going to split the team yet, but we did split the team by the second day. So that did help us get some more ground. So that helped. We expanded to a 6-man team this year, and whenever you add people, you go through some growing pains. And we had by the way, we had a really challenge. You guys know I had a very challenging first day.
Yeah.
So it was day one was a bad day, but the good thing is when you have a team that can pick it up, and they did. That was really what helped. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the second you told me, what you.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with PCA. Why I had a bad
No, I
day
know.
either, yeah.
No, I know, and I won't say what it is, but
Yeah.
you told me what was going on, and I first of all, my first thought was like, I hope you're good. I care about you guys. I love you.
Oh,
guys.
absolutely.
But
you guys were all great. Yeah.
I also am like, this is gonna rattle him a little bit, but I know he'll get it done, and I knew.
No, it did rattle me, and see my job at the show is the writer, so
Yeah.
it did hurt some of the note taking. But I was able to kind of go back to some companies, work through some of our videos, and kind of clean that information. Because once day 2 came, it was a little better. I was a little but it did hurt the content for day 1 that I was writing, and that was nothing to do with PCA, by the way. This was all on. This was just some stuff I had to unfortunately deal with a family situation. So, yeah. So I had to just deal with that, and I almost had to go home over it. So I didn't.
I know.
So, but everything's good now. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
everything worked out like I told you.
Everything worked out. Yeah, and everyone's really supportive. And like I said, my wife, I got to just give her credit. She handled some things at home that we needed to handle, and it was a medical situation with my kids, so I'm not gonna beat around the bush. But he's okay right now. So yeah.
Yeah, and we're happy that he turned out all right too.
Yeah. Yep.
John said, would you say missing the half a day have more impact on the smaller brands?
Yeah.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I feel bad we didn't get to the boutique pavilion. I just couldn't.
You know why? It's because going into the show, and I think the same is fair with the media.
Yeah.
And it's just look. It's not. I'm just gonna say it, and it's not like for any negative reason other than there's a lot more traffic involved, right? Yeah, you go into the show, you start with the big guys first. They're going to have the most there, the most traffic, the most going on. Like, you got to hit them, and you got to make sure you don't miss them, okay? And then you kind of, at least this is how we do it, and then we kind of work our way down. Look, it's not done because, the little guys don't matter, but the fact of the matter is, and Coop, I know you're going to back me up on this because you have your own website.
Right.
Those big guys bring in a lot more web traffic, and when you talk about what we do, that matters a lot to what we do, and you have to. I mean,
yeah.
If you're getting tens of thousands of clicks from Arturo Fuente and Oliva and Drew Estate and General Cigar and Altadas USA, and someone else, and I'm not going to use a name as an example because I don't want to make anyone.
Yeah.
But if someone else is only getting you 500 clicks, you're gonna go with the booth first. That's getting you 20,000 clicks. I mean, that's just how it is.
We have to get there. Yeah, we have to get there to our sponsors and then our strategic partners who support us. Maybe they're not sponsors.
Absolutely.
And then the next thing that happens is then it's the companies that are making an effort to talk to us throughout the year. My Som hat's a great example. Som is a very small company, right? They have Vlad has been all year working to kind of keep us on board with what he's doing. He's been very responsive to us. Those are the ones that go next. If you're a company and you're just not going to tell me what you're doing, or you're not going to make any effort to communicate with me except give me your booth number, it's not that I'm trying to punish you. It's just you're going to be at the bottom of the queue. There's no other way around it. You're competing with 100 other companies with all those categories we just mentioned.
Yeah,
it's just that's reality. Yeah,
and it's hard because, there's a lot of medium to smaller companies that people I know and love very well, and but I still they're still on the list to be covered, and believe me, they're everyone's a priority.
Right.
But there's something to be said about the guys.
Yeah.
There's something to be said though about the biggest fish in the room, are it's what keeps the lights on in a nutshell for people like us. I mean, unfortunately, and that's just how it has to be.
Yep.
We can't go in there, You know, and I've seen some other media makes this mistake. They go in there and like the first booths they hit are like all these like small micro boutique people, and it's like, and then it's like, well, did you get to Oliva? No, we didn't. And it's like, so you didn't cover Oliva because you wanted to go to the guys in the back first, and then you didn't have the time because you hung out with them for a while. Look, you can do what you want, but I mean, I'll tell you this: when I put out shit from Oliva, I mean, my phone explodes for the next 4 hours because of all the notifications I'm getting.
It gets traffic.
Yeah, we actually made a mistake. We waited till day 3 with Oliva, right? Now they were busy.
They were very busy.
Unfortunately, we didn't shoot a video, but we got a written piece in, which suffices in a lot of areas for us too. But we just because we couldn't get, and look, Laura was great. She was very busy, but we had help there, and that was the important thing. And we were able to get an article, and we still covered them. We weren't going to avoid them. But I do feel bad for like a company like Sans Perel that they have been making the effort, and I did miss them this year. So we did miss some companies. I mean, I could tell you we missed one big company this year, and I think you missed the same one as I did, and I regret it. But Ashton,
yeah,
we both missed that. And Andy, yeah. I went to Andy and apologized to him, and he was great about it. But you know what? They've been great with us. I feel terrible about that.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Yeah. I'm in the same boat, and
yeah.
And believe me, it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah,
people think we just go to the show, we walk around all day with a camera, like, oh, we're hanging. Like, no, it's Kevin will tell you it was not fun following me around.
Yeah,
especially when I was on death's door on Saturday.
Oh, the first day, Kevin was ready to die. I'm like, Kevin, if you need to go home, like just go. Like, I don't want you to suffer. Like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I was not well at all on Saturday, and I mean, I apologize to anybody that I came across I was kind of short with or even just dismissed. But there was like a million and one other places I would have rather have been, like home in bed, like dying. But we had work to do, and I wasn't going to leave Matt hanging. So it was like I sucked it up and toughed it out and did what I had to do.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, that's being a pro, and that's why you're a pro, Kevin.
And we appreciated it, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, we've, like I said, there were other guys on the Coop team that had their challenges this year too. It seems like every year we have challenges, and the funny thing is, I didn't know they were dealing with stuff because I was dealing with my own situation. And they were just working right through it. So it is hard, and it is a long day. These are long days. I mean, on that trade show floor.
I think everyone on our team had something going on at some point too.
It happens, yeah.
Even Mitchell, Mr. Positive. He's got some stuff going on, and
yep.
That's all I'll say. But
Barb was a week outside of surgery.
Barbara had surgery the week before.
Yeah.
Kevin was dying on day one.
Yeah, I basically had, I think, food poisoning. So
yeah, I mean it was
just bad.
It's tough.
Well, do you have the nachos? I shouldn't say. I shouldn't have said that.
Don't bring up the nachos again. We don't want to waste any more time on stupid.
I didn't even. None of us ate the nachos, so that's.
I did eat the nachos. No, that was a bad. I apologize.
I just pictured Jay going to the next PCA board meeting, and when they talk about things for next year's trade show, I just picture Jay Davis being like, look, I know a lot of the media guys, and one of the hot topics this year is the nacho station. I really think we fucked up on that one because they're all shitting on us for it. Like, we gotta. I just picture Scott Pierce just being like, yeah, definitely. So what about the show floor? Like, who gives a shit about the nachos?
You guys talked more about the nachos than we did on our show. I was on the Devin Powell show.
I'm not the one who brought it up. I just, I had to feed it.
I do want to put a toast to Jay Davis because is he not one of the ones that was involved in sending you the glass of water to your table at dinner on Sunday night?
Yeah, that whole situation.
Or Monday night.
It was actually, I think it was Bill Rodriguez from La Flor Dominicana.
Okay. But that was
who they were eating with.
That literally, seeing your post about that literally made my whole fucking show. That was funny as hell.
Well, it was weird.
Sorry.
Like the waiter comes over with like a cocktail glass, with like a clear liquid on the rocks. I'm like, all right, and it looked like a cocktail. And he's like, oh, the guys over here, they sent you this glass. And I was like, oh, and I'm like, all right, it's either vodka or gin. And I give it a smell. There's not a lot of a smell to it. I'm like, it's probably vodka. And I sip it, and I'm like, it's fucking water. And I just look over because they're like 4 tables down. I just look over, and they just go, oh, and I'm like, what? But then, we sent a dessert over to their table, and then we sent a dessert over to the half wheel table because they were also on the other side of the restaurant. And we did it in good faith. They sent water over because they thought it was funny, and we were grown-ups, and we sent over an actual treat. So
well, you guys had the Life of Riley at night, man. We were all working at night, man. You guys are Life of Riley having these dinners, yeah.
Yeah, well, sometimes you gotta unplug.
I'll tell you what.
You got to eat.
Yeah. So
we actually lucked out. Most of our dinners were on the earlier side and we had 3 dinners this year, so it was pretty good. So, but they were all except for one went late. Only one went late.
Yeah. So but anyway, it's I forget what we were talking about before now.
Because
we got so sidetracked.
I got us sidetracked.
We got sidetracked.
I had to mention that. That was so funny.
Yeah. Now I forget where we were at.
Nachos.
No, before that. Enough with the nachos. We don't need to talk about the stupid nachos. The nachos suck, okay? The PCA failed with the nachos, all right? End of story. They failed with the nachos. You know what? They also failed with media's early access because I don't know what happened, but, people with media ribbons on their badges were being turned away from the show floor an hour before the show began. And that is not okay.
What was your response back from the PCA on it?
What did they say to me?
Response back on it.
The only response I got was Jay Davis, who was very apologetic and was like, "Hey, it shouldn't be an issue tomorrow," and blah 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 blah. And I love Jay, and that's of course. Mm-hmm. I have not heard from Scott Pierce, Lisa Cox, Josh Abersky, Antoine Reed. I haven't heard from anybody on that issue yet.
So I did I did write them a letter.
Mm-hmm.
And I documented the concerns and what happened. What I'll just say is I have satisfaction with the resolution. They said it was a miscommunication. I'd like to understand how a miscommunication like that could happen because it's, again, there was an email sent on October 20th clearly documenting this, right?
Right.
But I was told it was a miscommunication. I've had the PCA. There's some good people there. I'm okay with that. Just let's make sure we have no problem like that next year. It's kind of where I'll just go with that. But I was surprised that a lot of people didn't email the PCA after. I only know one other media outlet that did. So because I actually had to restrain myself from not going onto social media with that. And I did that because I have a lot of respect for Scott and the team. But I was not happy about it. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I was not happy about how that went down. It should have miscommunication like that should have never happened, and it took time away. We lost time on day one. So that's why I was saying in the comment. When we really didn't have that hour, we actually had an appointment. We were scheduling appointments and everything on top of that. So, look, it happens. The miscommunication. I'll say this. I'm willing to say, okay, let's make sure it doesn't happen again. But just get it straight one way or another. Either we get in at 9 or 10. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you drop the ball again next year, then it's going to be more of an issue because it's like, all right, you fool me once,
The only thing that bothered me is the person who sent the email was in on a discussion I had, and said nothing, and it was his email. So I don't understand that piece. Like, you sent an email on October 20th. It clearly states what the issue was, and I don't know. It was oblivious. So I think that I don't know who caused the miscommunication. But let's just get it. PCA's been pretty good with us over the past few years. I'm gonna give them a pass on this one. At least they responded back to me.
Yeah,
so,
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Not to say it wasn't an issue. It was an issue, but yeah,
that was a big deal.
And I appreciate them. Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, that was one of the things that I didn't really like. But
by the way, and I didn't count that in the overall score of the show, and I gave it a little less than last year. That was not part of the score, just so you know. So whether that happened or not, that wasn't part of the issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, I agree. I mean, it's
Yeah.
an issue, but it was handled, and whatever. Um. Oh, it just as long as it doesn't happen, going forward, because now
Yeah.
it's you taking guys off the floor and they need that time, especially without the half day. I get
Then
it.
just tell us we don't have the time next year, so I don't have to get everyone has to get up at 7:30, on long nights. So that's kind of what I'm just saying with that. Just get it one way or another straight for us, and we'll follow whatever they need.
So the next thing I'll get into is, well, really, just kind of going back to stuff on the floor. I mean, we've kind of talked about like the biggest highlights. I mean, Padron's 60th, was a big deal. Dupont had a lot of stuff. We spent a lot of time in that booth. Les and the team. I mean, we love them so much.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time in that booth, and we try to be in and out of booths quickly.
We were in for about an hour with them, yeah. And
yeah,
it was well worth our time.
They were probably our longest video. Yeah. Just because we had to cover so much with them. There was a lot of stuff that came out of that. There was a lot of stuff that came out of that booth.
And it surprised me because they introduced so much last year, but this year it was kind of like the themes and I think the collections. Last year was more on the product innovation, and this year was more on the collections. I think they did a great job, by the way. I just think it was
the wow factor of that booth was high.
Agree.
Yeah, and I think it was. And I will say, not for nothing, but the hospitality at ST Dupont, second to none.
And they were busy. They were busy.
They were busy. They took the time out. Now, if I remember correctly, and I have to follow up with the rest of the team, and Kevin, unless you remember, but I believe, was it Ellie Blue that I think Mitchell walked into and like took some notes or something, and then one of you guys went back to do video or something, and they were like, "Oh no, like you guys already were."
Well, here. Somebody was your guy was already here or whatever. We gave him everything. It's like, okay.
It's like, oh, all right.
Well, and
that's not
so that is a little bit So I want to address that piece, and I'm not necessarily going to beat up Ellie Blue for that. I do recognize that these companies only have a certain amount of time for media, so we were a little careful with that because Tripp and Dennis were doing the pairings piece, so we weren't be careful of not having to spend double time. But we had to be a little sensitive to that because, again, just like our shows condensed, the sales show piece and the support piece was condensed. We tried to be a little sensitive to that, but maybe I'm not saying that was right either, but I kind of understand a little of that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it, but at the same time, just about everyone else gave us, the respect and time of day when we walked in. So
I get that.
It's a blemish. It's a blemish. It's a blemish against Ellie Blue. We went to, arguably their biggest competitor, ST Dupont, and, they were, and look, I know they advertise on the show, but I had a relationship with them for years, way before they even did that, and they've always treated us professionally, and they've always given us plenty of time, as they do with all the other people, such as Coop, who they don't advertise with. I know in LE Blue, we walked in there, and we got some information, and when we circled back for video content, they were like, oh, no, we're done now. It's like, all right, well, if you dismiss us, we dismiss you. And that's just how it works. So that's it. You're done. End of story.
I mean, from that standpoint, I mean, as far as like dismissal from any of the booths or whatnot, I mean, there was only one other that, I mean, it's going to remain nameless, that kind of, gave me the cold shoulder, where set it up to go interview a certain individual, and then when we got there, it's like, oh, I got to go to a meeting, so I'm going to have you talk to so and so. And then the meeting was, standing in bullshit with their buddies around the backside of the booth. It's like, you could have gave me 10 minutes of your time while you're standing there bullshitting, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
so, okay, that's fine.
We had one bad booth, and I'm going to talk with them rather than, again, people have bad days. So I wasn't there. It was two of my other guys who got like kind of really dissed, and it was somewhat of a major boost, so I'll find out what happened, but it is what it is. So, But they still did shoot a video with us, so it's they did give us content, so I'm appreciative of that.
Yep. Yeah, no, I fully agree. And I know that people are busy and they got stuff going on, but it's also sometimes in the tone. And I don't forget those things.
But I think I've told you in the past I've had incidences with booze, and in all cases, in several cases I've actually gotten apologies from the companies. On both, there's 2 or 3 in mind that come to mind with that, and it was all good. It was all good. So things just sometimes happen that we don't see. So if the problem is the one booth I'm talking about, it's the second time in 3 years it's happened.
Mhm.
So that's where I have that's why I have to see if there's, and in both cases I wasn't there, right? So okay, if you want me there, that's fine. I can work it where I'm there, but all of our guys are very qualified. They do better video than I do, so you don't need me there. I'm not strong on doing those roving reporter interviews. I'm not as I love doing podcasts and sit behind the desk. The roving reporter interview, Bear and Trip are much better at that than I am. So
Yeah.
I leave it to those guys. They're way better than I am. So you're getting a better.
Yeah, I
experience with
really
that.
enjoy that aspect of it.
You're good at it. You guys are good at it. I mean, you're good at it, Kevin. I'm not good at it. It's just, and it's a skill. It's a skill that you guys have to do it.
John asked a question. Let me try this a different way. Is the cigar media doing a disservice to the new cigar smoker by not covering the boutique brands that may have just as good or better cigars? Interesting question.
That actually,
if you're a boutique fan, we probabably are. There are
that's
plenty
probably
of
how I'd say
media
it too.
outlets that cover the boutiques, though. If you're going to Coop for boutique coverage, it's not going to be as deep. I'm just going to be very honest, right? We're not a boutique media outlet. There's guys who are very good at boutiques and Simply Stogies, Stogie Press. I would be telling you to go to those sites before mine if you want boutique coverage. We try to balance it a little more, so we just can't go as deep with that. And then the other thing I'll say is, tell these boutique companies to start. We reach out to them and they don't want to communicate with us. So the bigger companies have the arms where they want to do it. So I would say if you are looking for Coop for boutique coverage, you'll get some, but you'll get better at like Simply Stogies or Stogie Press. I'll be completely honest with you on that.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I would bring it to a point too, though, kind of like, going off of the point that Coop just made. If you reach out to us with press releases and you have something notable and something that has a little bit of buzz as a boutique company, you're going to get coverage. I mean, so if there definitely has to be effort made from the boutique companies to do it, which unfortunately a lot of them, it's 3 people in the office. You just don't have the ability, or the manpower to do it. So it just doesn't happen. So
now look, if you're Fuente and Padron and you're still dealing with Aficionado, look, they know they have, like Carlito told me, they have a relationship with those guys going back before I was even smoking cigars, right? So you can't expect them to break those relationships, right? But the newer companies, there's really no excuse for that, right? So there's no excuse. So it's not my fault. It's not my job is I'll cover you, but I have to be aware of what you're doing, and we're in the end I'm still a small operation in media wise. So we try, but we just can't. So, but there are media outlets that specialize in the boutique piece, and I encourage folks to go check them out. That's why I do. You go to those sites, you'll see boutique brands that you probably haven't heard of, and they work those relationships a little different. So check those out is what I would say. I'm not offended. I would tell people, hey, we didn't cover that booth, but go check out these guys to go do it. They did a good job covering it.
Yeah, I mean, the only booth I went to in the boutique pavilion was Gabby Caffey's booth, and that was only because because our model going into the show is I cover all of the big guys, and then I work my way down, and then the other half of the team kind of grabs everyone else. So we had coverage there, but obviously there's a little bit of a pecking order as we covered before. But I went there because he specifically requested me to Nicole, and I said okay, I should go by and see him and talk to him, and I did. But I couldn't really just get around with some of the other people in that booth. I personally, in my personal schedule, I just did not have the time because I had so many other things I had to cover. I will say, Nicole went in there with Barbara. She went to a couple of the different people there, and there was a couple of people who they were interesting. I remember Nicole telling me a story. And Kevin, I think you remember this too. She went to, the girls went to one booth in the BCA pavilion, and they had a cigar that I don't know the details on. I didn't see it, but from what Nicole tells me, sounds like it was something like the Femur that Skip Martin made, like 120 ring, something like crazy like that. And when she inquired about it, they didn't really know anything about it, and they couldn't give her any information, which I thought was interesting. Another one that was
Yeah, if
interesting.
you have a cigar that makes an impact like that, you need to be able to get the information out there because that will get you attention.
Yeah. The other thing too, which I thought was interesting, was, I'm not gonna get into it all, but if you're a regular follower of ours, you know that there was a little bit of a history with us and El Septimo, and which I don't think there needs to be, but they feel that way. So Mitchell went into the booth, and because he was getting a lot of our other information, and he met with some of them, and they talked to him about what they had that was new and all of this, and he inquired about information on the products like wrapper, binder, filler, this and that. And according to Mitchell, there was several people who all were asked well, do you know anything about the cigar? No one knew what it was. They knew very little about the product, and I'm like, how do you go to a trade show and
We
your
had that
sales
issue
team just knows nothing about the product that you're primarily showcasing? And I just don't get it.
So can I take that one and devil's advocate? Okay. First of all, I agree that they should know about the product. Okay. The booth I talked about where we had a little issue with, they couldn't talk about a major. The person we were talking to couldn't talk about a major release. Okay. Now the trend I noticed at this show was a trend away from wrapper, binder, filler. I'm just telling you, I saw it at booth after booth, and it wasn't so much telling the story of wrapper, binder, filler, where I felt the sales teams were being more educated on this is the product, this is how we're positioning it, and they're not being told what the wrapper, binder, filler is. And it wasn't just El Septimo. There were a lot of other companies I noticed this year. It seems like that they're trying to. I'll give you CLE was very, very cagey on their wrapper, very cagey on that stuff. So I'm not excusing it. I think they should know enough about the product where Mitchell should be able to get a story or something out of that. But I saw a big trend away from that this year, like I never saw before. Like more and more companies, they're educating their sales teams on other things besides wrapper, binder, filler. Unfortunately, it's a lot of marketing BS sometimes too. But yeah,
I will add to that though. I mean, we experienced that as well. I know. Like we switched up the teams on days 2 and 3, so it was Barbara and I. We went to some of the smaller booths, and I mean, when I would ask that question, you could tell the reps that were actually trained well. It's like, well, you know what? I don't know, but let me find out. And they would actually go and would get you the answer versus just I don't know or we don't know and just move on.
Yeah.
There's
a
huge difference.
We don't. And a lot of times it's like, we're not disclosing it. They came back, they checked, hey, we're not disclosing it. Okay. But at least they kind of did their job on that. Most of the time I've been dealing with the stakeholders, but there are times we do have to deal with the sales reps just because we got to get some help on stuff.
Right. There's a huge difference, though, in I don't know and we can't disclose that.
Yeah.
That's true. And I think that's...
I think there is anyhow. I mean, that's just... I mean, maybe that's the personal opinion. Maybe I'm wrong on that opinion, but that's how I feel about that. Is if there's a huge difference in I don't know versus it's undisclosed.
And Coop, I understand all the points you made.
I agree with you on 100%.
But yeah, that specific scenario, from what Mitchell described to me, was like I don't know, and you can with you don't have to disclose stuff if like as a company but
Yeah.
it's like at the same time when you just give off the like I don't know, it doesn't look good that your sales team doesn't know what they're selling. Now you can know what you have and not disclose, but if you just don't know and you let the retailer know like, hey, I don't know what I have, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Yeah,
I
like you
mean,
should have pricing info and size, Vitola sizes and box counts and ship dates. And when you're not getting that info, I would just say, I understand what the wrapper buyer feel, but there's basic. If you can't give the basics of that other stuff, then that's a problem too.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if it says undisclosed on the data sheet, then it's undisclosed. If it has all the information on the data sheet and you don't know, then you need to freaking buck up and do your due diligence as a rep for the company and get your product knowledge on point, because you're doing them a disservice by not knowing that information at the, as soon as somebody asks, you should be able to rattle it off.
Yeah, if you don't have a price sheet and look, I understand some people get very cagey about sharing a price sheet with the media. Just share the MSRP. You don't have to share the wholesale price. We all look. Everyone knows it's Keystone for most products. It's kind of the worst. I'm saying it's the worst kept secret, but I understand, the specials and stuff, but I find out all that anyway. I get that information anyway. You think I'm not getting it? So.
Yeah, I mean, I get price sheets from manufacturers. I see the wholesale prices. I know what they're charging for stuff. I mean, it's nothing magical. It's kind of like, all right, I mean, I kind of figured that. It is what it is. But we don't need it anyway. We're not going to report on it. We only need to report on MSRP. Now, so let me ask you guys this question. It doesn't have to be just because of like what products they had. Overall, who like each of you just give me one. Give me a booth that you thought was one of the best of the show. Could be for multiple reasons. Most impactful, nice booth, whatever. Or, just felt like they had a good show for several reasons. Whatever it was. What do you think was the most? What was the booth for you guys?
So it's
I'm
kind of a
little bit on this.
So okay, there's a couple ways to look at this, right? So I don't mean to give dividend. So going in, I thought Saka was going to have the big show, right? But I knew all the products he had going in there, right? So for me, that's not really a revelation. That was more of a confirmation. So
Right.
I have to go look at the show and say, who were the booths that really stood out where I wasn't aware of as many of the releases? I think ST Dupont absolutely came to mind. I thought the collections they hit were on point with that. So I got to say that.
I agree.
And the other one I got to say is EP Carrillo. They showed a very strong product pipeline for over the next year. And if I'm a retailer and I'm looking at where's this brand heading, I got a clear picture of where this brand was heading going into that booth. So I think those two were like I said, Saka, we knew everything he was doing beforehand. But I think those two booths were the ones that really stood out in terms of I really saw them target audiences and target markets. And if I'm a retailer, I have confidence in these brands till next April, again. So that's how I looked at it.
I kind of feel the same way, with a lot of the names you mentioned. And a lot of them are usual suspects, but it's because they have that reputation. They've done it, almost every year, for at least the last few years, if not longer.
General and Altadis had great shows too in Drew Estate. Of course they did. I don't want to dismiss them, but I think again, General was the only one we didn't know the products that were coming out.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Altadis and Drew, we knew what they had. So yeah. So, but I thought General actually I thought was refreshing. They had less products than I thought. But instead of throwing 25 products out there, they had 6 or 7. I think they did a good job with that.
That's very true. I agree. It wasn't overwhelming.
Yeah.
They didn't
it was totally manageable. I mean, from even as from a retail standpoint and from a media standpoint, it was very manageable to have a company that size and have a limited number of releases. It made it so everything could have the proper attention paid to it.
Yeah, it wasn't all LEs they were throwing out General this year. They had a lot of core line stuff they added. we talked about Macanudo, as, the Emissary España. I think our team felt that was the cigar of the show they had. So I don't want to dismiss General. It would probably be the other company I should put up there too.
Yeah.
See, probably my two. I mean, if I could pick two, as like far as for impactful, for me was again ST Dupont, as you mentioned. I mean, just
Yeah.
the way that
Yeah.
that booth looked, and just, I mean, not being a Game of Thrones fan, but just the wow factor of that was. I mean, even if you're not a fan of the show, you couldn't just help it. Holy shit, this is freaking cool as hell, right? And then the other one for me was Quality Importers with the new stuff that they had, and
They
introducing
did too.
and introducing a cigar.
Yeah, and I think the way they're marketing that cigar, first, I love the way they're merchandising this. I love who they went with, Casa Carrillo. The guys behind that cigar, I know Alex Goldman and I know Michael Giannini. They're cigar guys. So I think I thought the packaging was fantastic. Yeah.
Just the excitement factor and that, and like how they're presenting that with, the humidor and the swag, and you can get this, you might get this, you might get that. I mean, just the wow factor and the buzz factor on that was outstanding. I thought, I mean, what a genius way to introduce a cigar to that company.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hit that booth, unfortunately.
They were the last booths we hit. They were the last booths of the show we hit, which is unfortunate. I hate always going, but they were great with us even at the last minute.
Yeah, I always have fun with Mike Giannini. He is a fun individual, that's for sure.
He was one of him and Matt Booth were the first two guys I ever met at a trade show, and they've always treated me well. So yeah.
And personalities are very similar too. I mean, a show with Michael Giannini and Matt Booth would take about like 18 seconds to go off the rails.
I had a good time with that at the show. I don't know if anyone saw my clips.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was
What about your two booths, Matt? I'm kind of curious what you have.
I mean, Saka for sure.
Saka, yeah.
Saka's a big one for me because I just, he always just, he builds it up. He tells you what he's bringing. He doesn't just, and everyone loves him and what he brings, and he's got this following, and he brings the energy, from before the show starts. He's got that energy and brings it to the show. And you walk by that booth is fucking slammed the entire show. I mean, I don't give a shit who you are, what you say. You walk by Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, that booth is packed like a Japanese subway. I mean,
like I said, they were my pick for company to show, and they got it.
If you stand there and watch that booth just happen, it's like, think of the money counting scene from Scarface. Like the whole montage when like Tony Montana, they're counting the cash and they're bringing the duffel bags into the bank. Like, that's fucking Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust. Okay, they show up, they bring their 4 or 5 products, and Steve sits in his chair in the back. Don't blame the guy. And like everyone else in that booth, and he does his interviews and all that, and the fucking money just walks into the booth. It does. It walks into the booth. And it's that's just how it is every year. I mean, I knew Saka's gonna have a big show, and he's gonna come out with stuff, and we're all gonna talk about it, and most of it's probably gonna be pretty good because that's what happens.
Yeah,
and it's hard to disagree with that. I mean,
it's hard to disagree with it.
Did he have the biggest booth at the show? No. Did he have the biggest name release at the show? Probably not. But he made noise.
Releases. He had compelling releases this year.
Yes.
Again, I go like Bronze Back was a big one. Wagashi was obviously, that was the one new thing he had, is Wagashi. He had a new Sin Compromiso, which is still a very popular line that he has. He brought the the Stillwell Star was brought in, the
Holiday 2022. He made a core line.
Yeah. So he did have, and he did have stuff. But Umbagog's a monster brand for him, and to introduce something on top of that line, and a lot of people thought it was better than even what he had in the line. that was like I thought that was gonna be the sleeper cigar of the show. It definitely was. It wasn't the sexiest cigar at the show. It wasn't that sexy cigar, but
Sometimes it doesn't
was,
have to be though, Coop.
It doesn't have to be. Yeah.
It doesn't.
Just
Yeah.
remember the cigars that people don't see the sexiest are what keeps the lights on for all these companies.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
We had this. Nicole and I had this conversation last night. It was like,
Yeah.
what are these cigars that people are buying? That Drew Estate. Do you know what keeps the lights on at Drew Estate? It's not Liga Privada.
Acid.
Probably not Undercrown. It's
Cuba
acid.
Cuba.
It's acid, and if I may,
And Deadwood. And
factory smokes.
well, no, they do sell a lot of factory smokes. You're right.
They do, and because
they
I
do.
talked to Joe Grow about it, and
But-
I remember
but
making
they make-
and he was
but
like,
they make
ha ha
higher
ha.
margin.
He was like, hold on. He was like, as I made a comment one time, like, yeah, but like, how many people are smoking factory smokes? I feel like I don't see it. And he's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, we move fucking pallets of that, and
Yeah.
it's true.
No, it's true. I mean, and you go back with General, they move a lot of Macanudo, a lot of the Macanudo Cafe line still. I go down to the factory, you'll see all that stuff. Altadis moves a lot of Romeo Julieta. I thought Altadis, by the way, they didn't have a ton, but they had enough. They have some very compelling releases in there. And obviously the Monte Cristo was the big one, but they have the new St. Louis Ray coming out right now. They had the Romeo Julieta Barber Pole. They have that new H. Upman.
Yeah. They got the Tiamo.
And that's the Tiamo. Yeah. I think they had a little bigger boost this year. So I think they did a very, very nice job. With that, and I thought the boost was laid out. I saw you guys' interview with Raphael. I thought it was a great interview you guys had too. So I thought that was a good story. They were good stories. Good to have them back at the show.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. It was great to see them there. I mean, the only ones that weren't there were Davidoff.
I expect to see them in NOLA.
I've talked to Eddie about it, on the show and, off the show, and I kind of have a sense of, why they don't go. And I get it. I think everyone should be at the show because I think it's good for the industry. But I mean, I think there's not to really like make the show about this particular topic,
Right.
but I can see both sides of it, and I can see
I do too.
I can see where, I mean, when you're talking about the big four, there is a difference between Davidoff and the other three. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And a lot of it has to do with the way that their model is with the retailers and their appointed merchants. Davidoff, for what it's worth, has a model that's very similar to a lot of luxury products like Rolex and like Louis Vuitton. And look, Davidoff is like that kind of company in the cigar business, right? And I understand like why maybe it doesn't seem worth it for them to go to the show and spend the money. The fact of the matter is, a lot of the times, with Davidoff, they don't do a lot of discounts on their products, or at all. I mean, they're just that's just not what they do. They're a more price protected brand. So there's really not a lot of like incentives. Like you go to the show and like you're gonna get like, no, we're gonna charge you the same as if you call me on Tuesday and say I gotta order anniversarios. I need 10 boxes. They're gonna give you the same deal. It's not at the same price. There's no deals. There's no, for them it's like, so we're gonna go there. We're gonna spend all this money on this big booth, bring the whole team out, spend all this money on dinners and advertising and putting the team up in the hotels and we'll sell products, but like we don't need to go to the show to sell products because there's no deals and incentives. It's like we're gonna sell the the products, and that's the way they operate. And there's a lot of companies that operate that way. There's other issues and stuff too, or just reasons. But when you talk to retailers, the retailers have said that too. Davidoff, yeah, I mean they that's it's the way that they operate with us, and it makes I get it. Like I get it. For them they don't need to go to the trade show. they don't. They still do a lot of business without it. Do I think they should still be there? Yes, I think it's good for everybody. But like I
It's like
understand.
Fuente. Yeah. It's a lot like Fuente. Fuente doesn't need to be at the trade show, but they go.
Right.
And something would be missing if Fuente's not there. Something's missing if Davidoff's not there. I get all the reasons, so I'm not criticizing them. But look, Davidoff is a elite brand. I mean, it's certainly missing them. It hurts, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
And I agree.
Yeah.
I love the guys over at Davidoff. I know
I do too, yeah.
I know a handful of people.
They're
I love
very
them so much.
supportive of us. Yeah.
I like the brand. Supportive of they're supportive of us. We're supportive of them.
Yep.
I don't have any negative connotation that they're not at the show. But I get it. I get why maybe they don't feel they need to go. And at the end of the day, it's business, and they make a business decision, and everyone has to do what works for them. So I understand it, but I do wish they were there, because I still think it would just be awesome to have them there and to see everybody. And
Yep.
But that's my take. But yeah, getting back to it, the other three were there this year, and I think that they all did very well in their respective booths and what they had and what they brought. Drew Estate mostly focused on the new Shade 84, which was obviously the big highlight for them. We talked about Altus, we talked about General. I think they all did very well. They all Drew Estate had a new booth.
I do too. And I think Drew Estate, they only had one release, right, which is very different from them. But I don't think they wanted to break the model they've put in place. I think they're gonna still unveil stuff through Freestyle Lives, and I don't think they wanted to just. I had a feeling there wasn't gonna be a lot, because I don't think they've had success with these other things, but so I was fine with that, and I think that whole interview thing with Jonathan was kind of a unique thing. I had never seen any company do that before.
Oh, the backstage thing, yeah.
The backstage thing, yeah. They did Jonathan was like, and Izzy were doing that all day. So I mean, that was a happy long days for all.
I was one of the last people they did, because I was supposed to be in there like the first day. They were behind. I couldn't get in there, and Tom, I know really wanted me to get in there. So I'm willing to do it. It's just I have appointments, and
they had to push a lot. Yeah, they had to go behind on everyone. Yeah,
I finally got in there at the end, and at that point it was like the end of the day on day 3. I was exhausted. I was mentally done. I remember I sat down and I'm like, this will be fun, and for once I get to sit down and answer questions, and then. It was cool, and it was very quick. And then Jonathan Drew, and this always seems to happen with Jonathan Drew. He always just like, he said something about like, something about our name, like not having the G, and then he did some like rap thing about lasagna, and he's like, yo, you get it right? And I was just like, no. And he's like, yo, because the G's silent in lasagna. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And it just went right over my head. And honestly, it was like, dude, I'm fucking cooked. Like, this fucking, like, I'm done. Like, I just was like, I don't know. I don't know. He went on this like thing, and I didn't really know where he was going with it, and I really wasn't paying attention, and it just like, and I'm just like, no, like, what do you mean? Like, is this from like a song or something? He's like, no, because like, there's no G in your name, and like the G is, and I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm like, fuck. And I'm just like, dude, I've had enough. Like,
Matt's like,
it's nothing against them.
3 days, I'm tired.
It's
like,
nothing against that. They were great. It was just, I was just like, dude, I'm done. I'm tired.
Yeah.
But
that interview for you, that process for you was actually really cool for me, because I actually got to reconnect with Henry Pineda from Drew Estate.
I haven't seen him in a while. Yeah, it was good.
Who was? I mean, like, I was on like literally like the last cigar safari that they had when the civil unrest in Nicaragua erupted while safari was happening.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I was actually down there, and it was really great. It's like Henry's like looking, because it's like I've got a little more plumage that's much whiter than it was back then, and Henry comes up and gives me a big hug, and it's like, that was great, while that whole thing was happening. So it's like I got a benefit of Matthew's interview as well.
Yeah, no, it was a good time, Eli, spinning music in the booth as usual. It was vibing.
Little loud. Little loud, guys.
It's usually not very well received by the older generations, but I thought it was fun.
But the problem is we may have video that may not make it up because it was so loud.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah,
they turned it down
they went
for
all
me.
They went all in the shade of black, but I mean that was a very cool booth, I will say.
Yeah, it was. We had some good interviews with some of the other folks in there, like Willie and Pedro and Rob, so that was good with that.
Yeah, I did Rob. I think I did Willie and Rob. I can't remember.
Yeah, you did Willie and Rob Dietrich. I mean, that was it's so hard filming that interview to not fanboy off of both of those guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess for me it doesn't really. I don't know. I guess I'm not really that phased by a lot of people anymore, and it's not a disrespect thing. I'm used to. I guess I'm just used to it, but
Yeah.
But and Coop, I think Coop kind of is in that boat too. I see how Coop is with certain people, but yeah, I mean, but believe me,
we had 3 celebrity interviews. I interviewed none of them, right? So we had Guy, we had Chaz, and we had Ron Harper. I didn't interview any of the guys. I didn't matter to me.
Right.
So.
Right.
But this guy, my guys, it's different, and everyone's different. I don't feel one way or another. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like the fanboy thing. I mean, there's a big difference in like a celebrity versus just like an industry professional that's like big in said industry. I mean, I guess they're still a celebrity, but it's different.
Yeah. To be honest, I would have liked to have maybe the one of the 3, Ron Harper. I was a big fan of his when he played with the Pistons, the Cavs and the Bulls. I mean, but it wasn't a big deal that I didn't. As far as that goes, so.
Sorry, I forget what my next point was going to be. I kind of spaced there. We're looking at. Oh, we're looking at it on time.
How about we bring up the celebrity involvement in the industry? It's like these guys and how involved and how they're pushing it. It's like. I interviewed, Howard G, and the commitment, that those guys have, talking to Leon Searcy and seeing his commitment to it. He's addressing the cigar company the same way he, addressed his NFL career.
Yeah, we've interviewed those guys before.
That's awesome, and those guys they're starting to make some noise. So
yeah, they are.
You can
they there
see
this
the
year?
payback. Yeah, they were there.
See, we were there at day 3, and I think they had already left. So, but we've interviewed both Ike and Leon, and they're great guys. So
yeah, Ike wasn't there this year because he had commitment for the NFL, but Leon was there, and it's so cool to see the passion that those guys have.
Right,
and they're in it for the long run. They're just in it. They're not just in it to put their name on a cigar, tie their name with a company, and move on to the next thing. They actually have, they have blood, sweat, and tears in the game and want to see it through, and that's awesome to see.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Just great guys, and they're out there doing events and stuff too. These guys. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was surprised. They had Guy. Guy was in the Espinosa booth for a lot longer than I guess I expected him to be. But which is great for the industry. To have him be that accessible.
He's gone all in, man.
Gurkha had Mike Tyson at the booth, which is interesting because it's Mike Tyson.
You got to give him credit. Look, they got him to the show. That's a big deal.
I mean,
that's a big deal.
He showed up about a half hour late, but he did his commitment. He was there. He did his commitment.
If we get some Wajelo in that cigar, I think one could be really.
I was talking to Juan Lopez. We were burning this cigar, and I said I want a lot of hero. I like a lot of punts.
Here's gonna be my question. Wait. Here's my question. When he knocks out Jake Paul, is he gonna light up a cigar to celebrate the victory?
He should, but he won't.
I'm gonna wipe a Gurkha,
This is my new cigar. It's with Gurkha Cigar Group. It's called Undisputed because I'm undisputed, and that's my cigar. And you should check it out today.
You don't know the media compound this shit. It was all Mike. We were Mike Tyson voicing the whole week.
Oh man.
Like it was. I think Jay may have caught a little bit the night he was over there, but yeah, it was. We were just. Everyone was in Mike Tyson. It was getting a couple. It was kind of getting a little ridiculous. And McTavish is the best Mike Tyson impersonator out there that in the cigar media.
The Canadian Mike Tyson.
He has he just has a gift for it, but but I heard they weren't autographing the boxes because Tyson it wasn't part of the licensing deal from what I understand. He couldn't autograph boxes.
Yeah, no autographs. It was pictures only.
Yeah, and I think that happens a lot, by the way, with athletes. By the way, this is not. Don't blame Gurkha or anything. Hey, or Tyson. He signs these licensing deals are signed to other agencies and stuff. It's different story here. I don't think that was
the lawyers and the agents.
Get involved. That's it.
Yeah. That's true. When it comes to these celebrities, I mean,
yeah,
they show up. They're told like, hey, you got this thing, and this, you're only doing pictures. All right, he just shows up. The lawyers and the agents are the ones that sit down with contracts. Like, all right. We'll give them to you for an hour, but you're only getting photos.
Yeah.
If you want autographs, he'll do it, but it's going to cost you. Because nothing's
We got
free.
a great photo of Tyson. Nielsen went over there, and he got kind of got into the crowd and got a close-up of Tyson. So we got a really good photo.
Oh, yeah, I stood 3 feet away from him, and I was just like, damn.
Yeah. So
dude,
it was
just looking at him, you're like, damn, that dude still got it.
He was in his throne.
He's in shape, man.
He is in shape.
He is ready for Jake Paul.
I think he was bigger, like when 30 years ago. I think he was like bigger, but having said that though, I mean he looks ready to go. And if Jake Paul thinks like, yeah, I picked a fight with Tyson because he's old now, and I'm gonna say that I knocked out Tyson. I've heard a lot. This topic has come up, about that fight, and I'm still not 100% clear on what exactly the rules are. But I mean, if he's gonna go for it with Mike Tyson, there's been a lot of other fighters out there that have been asked about it in interviews, and a lot of them said, look, those of us who know Mike, he's still got it. He may be older, but he's still got it. And if anyone thinks that he ain't gonna knock that kid out, you're in for something, because he can. He may be in his 50s, but he'll knock that kid out.
Yeah.
It's true, and I think it'll be interesting to see that go down. But yeah, no, I mean the line for that booth when he showed up was like through the booth, down the aisle, up the stairs, and out. I mean, Juan Lopez was like, bro, look at all these fucking people. What am I gonna do? I mean, he was only supposed to be here for an hour, but like, what am I gonna turn these people away? I'm like, that's a lot of fucking people.
That's what happens. I mean, that's what happens. That's what happens at those trade shows. And I know Juan doesn't want to be that bad guy, but yeah, that happens sometimes. Most people, I think, understand that piece too. But some people don't, unfortunately.
Yeah. Kevin asked, did any of you try the Gurkha Tyson cigar? I have not yet, and I don't think you guys have either.
No,
I have not. I did not get one. Either. So
I have not received one of those.
I don't think they handed them out.
I'm gonna be smoking it. I'll tell you, I will smoke and review that cigar.
Oh, me too.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? It's a big deal.
It is.
That's going to be huge for Gurkha, for sure.
Yep, and I hope it's huge for Coop too, with numbers on that.
Yeah, people want to read about it. For sure. I mean, that's going to be on our list.
I am really encouraged by the factory they're using, which is El Artista.
Yeah.
So I'm very. I have a lot of respect for the El Artista guys. We spent some time with them this year, so good for them. I think in fact, I think the best factory Gurkha's working with right now is El Artista. I think that's the most consistent product they're getting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, again, we talk about these celebrity collabs, and provided I don't know how much Tyson himself will promote this.
I don't think he will. I think this is a licensing deal, and he's not going to be Guy Fieri, and that's okay. It's okay. Ultimately, we'll see how successful it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly hope it's successful, because I think it's good for everyone when it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Is there anything about the show that was very noteworthy that we didn't bring up and cover yet, that maybe we just missed, that's worth mentioning?
I mean, I thought one thing from the media standpoint was the compactness of the floor, the layout of the
Yeah.
floor.
It was
It was
a very good-
definitely,
it
it
was
was
dense.
smushed in. Everything was much closer together, and even like a lot of the larger booths were basically the same size.
Yeah, I thought it was a well laid out thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know you guys weren't like I know Kevin, you weren't there that day, but Matt, I think you were there for part of it.
Mhm.
I thought the opening day, nachos aside, let's forget about nachos. It was the best opening day ever for the PCA. That opening that Friday, from the hand roll movie to the Manuel Noah seminar to Nick's talk on Connecticut to the Padron piece, even the business of the annual meeting went pretty fast. I thought it was the best content that they had. The only thing I didn't stay for was the Cigar Aficionado Love Fest. I just had at that point I just had I was in my seat all day. I had to kind of move, but that was the panel discussion with Cigar Aficionado. But I caught part of it, and it still was pretty interesting, is what I'm saying. But I didn't stay for the whole thing. But I thought it was a really good, if you wanted good content, they did the PCA from they get A's for all those. They were all excellent, those seminars.
You know, you know what I thought was interesting too, just because I thought about it. The once again, was it day 3 when we're all walking out and leaving? What was going on?
Packing up.
No, not packing up. Actually, no, it was day 2. I think it was day 2. Because you and I, our teams both met up near this booth.
Oh, the CRA meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to keep the media out of this one this year.
Yeah.
And that's their. By the way, that's their right to do that. I don't fault them on it. There were people who wanted us to stay for that meeting, but I felt a little awkward because CRA specifically said to us, "Hey, we just don't want the media here," and I'm not going to get into the reasons why, but I actually understand what some of the reasons were. So I wanted to respect that. But at least they did the CRA meeting after the show floor closed. Like last year, they were taking an hour of our time away with that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Very true.
So yeah, I just that's their call. I still think they should have that meeting behind closed doors if you don't want media there. But that's their call.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought it was interesting. You know, we were approached about staying, and we actually, I mean, we at that time, and I didn't even know it was happening, but you know, we did have a
We had a dinner.
we had commitments that we, you know, unfortunately we couldn't stay for, but
Yeah.
but then you know, Coop had told me, he's like, well, they don't want us here anyway, so, and I was like, oh, all right, well, that just made it even easier because now I don't feel so bad because you know they didn't want the media there.
And oh, by the way, CRA was not trying not to be accessible as they offered any other. They just. I understand some of the reasons why they didn't want people there. It's just yeah, and I'm just gonna respect CRA on that one and not say what it was, but I kind of understand it.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
It kind of just moved on from it, and that was it. But I just wanted to mention, you know, again, you know, they had the meeting going on, and I forgot all about it, and I didn't know anything about it until like the last minute, and then I was just like, oh well, they don't want us there, so that's okay.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know. I just something about it. I wish that it was executed better. It just every year it just feels like, oh yeah, there's this like quick little meeting in Rocky's booth, and I don't know. I wish it was just a little more organized, and you know, but
it's not even something for us. It's
not.
but that's not something. So there's nothing for us to even be worried about with that. Is what I'm saying. You know?
No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah. That's why I mean, okay, that's their problem. Let them. Last year was a little different because what happened is, because I think I have a little insight. Last year, I was very upset because of they were doing the CRE meeting the last hour of the show, and people were leaving their booths. So I went to both PCA and CRA, and I explained to them, look, this is we would it's a problem, but hey, we want to cover this for you. And they were both, yeah, no, we understand. But then CRA said we thought about it, and for these reasons, we would just prefer not to have the media there. So I respected that, and I said it's not that they're not willing to be. And I think, by the way, CRA, Matt, in the last 2 years ago, we were killing CRA, right? Over
Oh yeah.
it's a different story now with Mike Copperman in there. I'm just telling you, they're much better organized than Cody. It's a different story with CRA right now. They're on the right path with the leadership they got. So I think those problems aren't going to happen anymore. So I'm seeing a lot of improvements from CRA. So that's why I respected their decision on that.
Can I talk about another cigar?
Yeah.
That I just remembered. Sorry, not to just completely switch gears.
No,
but
this is
there was another cigar that, and this is a little maybe unconventional, but there was another cigar that came out at the show that I smoked on the floor, and I may or may not have squeezed a couple packs of samples out of a very good friend of mine named Michael Cappellini. But these Toscano, Toscanello, not even the Italias, the Toscanello hazelnuts. Have you had these yet?
Yeah, they're good. Those are short half ones, right?
Yeah.
They're
Look,
good.
These are fucking delicious. I could smoke these all day.
They are. They're really good.
All right, now I'm feeling.
These are so good.
The Grappa one is even good.
Yeah?
I'm feeling left out now.
Ooh, these are delicioso. Muy delicioso. I can smell the pack from the other side of the room, too. And I grabbed it tonight, but I remember last night I was just like,
yeah.
Are those down here? And then I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to crack that open. This pack's going to be gone by Monday.
They have done a great job, and I got Cap has to get a lot of the credit for this. That's a brand for a long time. They were struggling with distribution in the U.S. But the last 5 years, they have just done a great job with things. And I know Nick Perdomo has a lot of respect for those guys. I'll never forget. Like 3 years ago, we're at the Toscano booth, and Nicholas come by and they're lighting up Toscanos, and it was still one of my all time moments. And Bear and I look at them, and they're like, we really love these cigars, and Nick spends a lot of time in Italy and stuff like that. And you wouldn't think that with Nick Perdomo, right? But it's a different cigar than what he makes, and he really loves it. So, but they've done a great job, Toscano, I think, at really building their U.S. distribution in the last few years. I think it's one of the I think it's one of the company's stories, because distribution is really hard, and they've done a really good job. They deserve a lot of credit, that company.
They do. They're great people. You know, we've done several episodes with Cap.
Yeah, we're overdue to have them back. Yeah, but yeah.
And they've always been so supportive of us. And look, I know that their cigars are different. And I think a lot of people they're like, oh, those are weird. I'm telling you though, try them.
Try them.
Look, I don't smoke them every day, but when I do, when I'm in the mood, I always love them. They're just like, ooh, this is different.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah,
they're great cigars. They're kind of like Padrones. They don't look like super fancy, but when you light them up, it don't matter because they burn great and they're
delicious. And they're very portable. So there's nothing like throwing if you're in your backpack or whatever, you can throw those in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to call Garofalo and be like, hey, can I get a sleeve of these packs? Because I'm gonna need to have them in the house. They're just too good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's another cigar that I know and some people might be like, really, the Toscano? But listen, I really like it. So. Yeah, that's a cigar that I took out of the show where I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be looking for those when they ship.
Yeah, no, they're the macchiato one's the other one that's really good. Of the Tuscan, and the Toscanellos are great because they're already cut in half for you, and I think, like I said, they're a good short, the classic short smoke. I enjoy those so.
Sounds like something I need to add to the collection for the before work coffee and cigar smoke.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Get the hazelnuts too, especially.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, these are so good. I think this is probably my favorite Toscanello that they've done. It's so good. Oh, it's so good. I smoked one of these last night, and then Nicole and I were down here. We were having some cigars. We were watching a movie, and I smoked one of those at the end because I was still waiting for her to finish, and I was like, I'm gonna light up something small. And I saw them, and I go, oh, I'm lighting one of those up. I'm like, those are so good. And I smoked it.
Yeah.
And I actually went upstairs, and we had some like little chocolate like lava cake desserts in the fridge. And I remember eating it and going like, is it just me, or does this taste like hazelnut? I didn't think there was hazelnut in this though. And I'm like, is it from that fucking cigar? Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, did that cigar like fuck me up? And like now I just taste like hazelnut with this like chocolate lava cake. And I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like, I don't think there's supposed to be any hazelnut in this. I'm like, I think that's from that damn cigar.
I'm sure it was.
And I was like, I'm not complaining. It was actually tasted good, but like I was just like, it's just weird because I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's no hazelnut in these. I'm like, that's gotta be from that damn cigar. Yeah, it is delicious. It is great. So yeah, I mean, I highly recommend those, and I can't recommend them enough. But yeah, no, overall, I think the show was good. You know, one of the best.
It was.
But
Yeah,
I
I
think
think it was,
last year was better, but it was one of the best.
But again,
least
it's
in
splitting
memory.
hairs. I thought last year was better, but that's not like, hey, the show. I don't want to say the show took a negative turn. That is not what I'm implying with that. But you know, I think I said the PCA should be very happy. I think all three things work for them. The move to the spring worked, despite my doubts. The move to the convention center was a good move. And the half day I think worked for them. The only complaint I have, PCA should have put out a memo when they knew the Tesla thing was out. That's my own. And by the way, if you read Cigar Coop preview, you would have known it was out. So, so I got some
The
credit.
Tesla
on that.
Loop? What do you mean? What do you mean it was
The
out?
Tesla Loop was out on Friday.
Oh, on Friday. Oh, yes.
Yeah, and
I was like, what the fuck? But
That's something.
the rest
you
of the
need-
time
that's
it was
something
there. It was cool.
You have an app, and by the way, if there was an email sent out and I missed that, I may have missed it, so I apologize. Also apologize. But otherwise, yeah, I thought it was, they did a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, the Tesla Loop was interesting. It was
I didn't
cool.
take. I mean, the other thing I think that was a big revelation for a lot of people was Bagel Mania. I mean, a lot of people had known about Bagel Mania. Obviously, Kevin, yeah. But Bagel Mania was like
Kevin
a
lives
revelation.
there,
It
so he
became like
does. He knows
Well,
everything.
Bagel
a morning-
Mania is like a trade show staple.
Yeah, and it's on top of that they have a pretty good kosher deli there, which is probably the people didn't try the kosher deli because it was a breakfast. But I got some kosher deli one morning, and my guys, the meat knishes were incredible. If you haven't had a knish, the meat knishes were incredible. They had brisket in them, kosher brisket in them. Yeah, meat knish.
Ooh.
Yeah. The club sandwich, the sandwiches. I had the brisket and pastrami sandwich one morning. Unbelievable. The chicken noodle soup was great in the morning. It soothes your throat for the whole day.
They have a
but
chicken
that became a
liver
morning.
dish that they serve.
Yeah, it became a morning, but it became kind of a morning hub for the industry. Like everyone was going there. So we were going there, even though we were in the south end of the strip. But we went there.
I love a good bagel, especially a place that does like bagel sandwiches. Man, we got this place up here called Bagel World. Man, it is good.
Bagel Mania has just so much more, though. I mean, me, Matt Booth, Abe Froman, Brian Matola from Cavalier. I mean, that's like the first day of the day before a trade show, the first day of a trade show. It's just like a ritual to just show up there because that's where you have to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and I keep saying kosher deli. It's I think it's Jewish deli. I'm not sure if it's kosher or not. I don't know the answer to, but like I said, they have great dishes.
Well,
there.
respectfully, I mean, I don't know much about the Jewish culture and but if it's a Jewish deli, doesn't it have to be kosher?
That's why, as far as someone who's half Jewish, I don't know the answer to that. So,
Because I thought,
yeah,
well,
someone
I
may know
just,
more than
I
me.
just, and again, because I don't know, as I'm not Jewish, but I always thought like, if you were, of the Jewish faith, and I thought like, I thought things had to be kosher. I thought that was kind of like part of
It does, but yeah, I just don't want to say something's kosher if it's not either. That's why I'm.
Mm-hmm.
It
Oh no,
probably
I
is.
get it. Yeah.
Yeah. But let me tell you, like I said, those meat knishes. We bought a couple extra to throw in the bags throughout the day, and they are just delicious.
Just walking around with meat knishes in your backpack. Hey, you got any of those
And you know what's
knishes
funny?
in
We
there?
left a
Take one
couple in the
out.
car. We left a couple in the car, and it was cold enough where we just they stayed okay. They stayed. Yeah.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there's something you never get to say in Vegas. It was cold enough.
We were bundled up one night at the compound. We had the fire pit going. I had a winter Phillies warm up jacket on and everything. I had a Saka squat ski hat on. Yeah, but we had that fire pit, which made it great. We had an electric fire pit, so that worked out good.
Oh, that's nice.
Or propane one, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those of you that aren't from warmer climates, it was freaking cold here during the PCA trade show. I would just put that out there.
I was telling people it was going to be cold. They didn't, but I think this is what I saw happen. Okay, so every year people want to come over to the compound, right? And look, I've learned now if you're not telling me you're 100% coming to the compound, I know you're not coming, right? So I get like, well, we'll see after dinner. I'm like, I don't even follow up because I know they're not coming, right? But what happened is everyone found out about this crystal bar at Resorts World, and we saw like the amount of people wanting to invite themselves over, and we really didn't have a lot of people over. It was Jay and the Hustler guys. On came over from Jewish State, and Reinhard came over, but that was it. It wasn't a lot of people again this year because everyone was like, "Oh, once they get in the crystal bar, and they can find a place where they can get alcohol and smoke, they don't want to leave." This industry, they have to have that bar, so.
Your compound was a great location this year too. I mean, we were just there for just a short time, but location-wise, that was outstanding.
Yeah, and Kevin hand-delivered his awards, the Coop Awards, and thank you very much for doing that.
I was going to hold them hostage.
Yeah, but it was a great location because we were near the airport and we were near the convention center. The Hustler guys complained about it. It wasn't the best neighborhood. It wasn't the worst neighborhood either. That's what I'm saying. It was near UNLV. It was about a mile from UNLV.
I've been to some of the media compounds that were picked around town, and some of them were in a lot rougher neighborhoods than that.
Right. This wasn't. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Need a place to pontificate. Yeah, I spent a couple of nights with Jay at Crystal Bar, to be honest with you, and
I guess my one complaint is I wish they would have promoted that well because several people who were over at the Westgate were kind of look. We wish we knew there was a Crystal Bar there. We would have stayed at Resort World instead and paid the extra money. So I think that could have affected. But nonetheless, at least it seemed like people were happier with that than Bar Luca. No one missed Bar Luca. Everyone went to Crystal Bar. It seemed like they forgot about Bar Luca.
There was like one or two people I saw put on Facebook that they were at Bar Luca having a cigar during the trade show, and I was just like, "What are you doing? Like, it's over."
There's some people who still stay at the Venetian. They just like the property.
Old habits die hard.
I mean, I stayed at Treasure Island the first night because we didn't. I get out at night before we get to compound. I'm not going to rent the whole house for myself for the night. And Treasure Island is one of the. They have the Breeze Bar downstairs. And it's one of my favorite places to smoke.
I've smoked there many times.
Got a beautiful smoking room every year, so love my smoking room. So, and what's nice is when I'm there one night, I shower them out, so I don't have to deal with the smell the rest of the week.
NOLA's going to be interesting for me. That'll be the first trade show I actually have to travel for.
Yeah.
It's going to be it's going to be new.
My advice is if they can get, I've said this on a few shows, if PCA can really sell the industry and the experience, I think it'll be good for the industry to have a trade show in New Orleans. They got work to do there, but I think they're doing the work, so we'll see what happens. So I'm confident with this with this board and with this leadership team that they can get this done. 10 years ago, I didn't have that confidence level with the people in charge, and it was not great. I think there's, like I said, that trade show 10 years ago, like on setup day, there was no air conditioning. Like they didn't turn the air on, and you couldn't smoke on top of that while you were setting up. So it was really a bad. Like, the exhibitors were already getting off to a bad experience in New Orleans. Like you're in 100-degree heat as setting up your booth. I mean, that's just not fun.
Can I just comment on this for a second?
Yeah.
So, Alan said there was another person Matt spent time with at Crystal Bar, and
who's that?
I wonder if he's referring to himself, because he was in attendance at one point when I was at the Crystal Bar hanging out with Jay and his brother, and I remember this because when he left, he he spilled his like Diet Coke all over the floor, and then he left it and he left, and I remember me and Jay were like, what the fuck is that? And I have a photo of it. So I don't know. Who does that.
Well, I mean, Alan, who
leaves a mess? Come on,
well, Alan. At least go get like the staff to clean it up. I mean, I understand that. Okay.
He's like, shit, and then he like left, and then we were like, there was shit all over the floor, and it was sticky, and people came by and sat down, and like, what happened when like Alan Rubin happened? I don't know.
Alan, come on, Alan.
I know. Come on. What are you doing? Anyway. Alan, I spilled my soda. Oh, you must not have a good memory. I know Jay was there. Jay's like, what happens in Vegas should stay in Vegas. Come on. Yeah,
hey,
I know the rule. I know the rule, but Jay, come on, be fair. Come on.
Hey, the fact that he doesn't know he did it or he doesn't remember he did it, that makes it even better.
I know, it does. I have a photo of it. I was just like, what happened here? Oh, boy. Well, anyway, I'm looking at the time, and I'm trying to keep this show tight on schedule tonight. So, we've had a lot of fun. We've had a great time. Anything about the trade show that we want to touch on before we wrap up the show tonight?
Yeah, like I said, I think it was an overall positive experience with it. I think the Spirits Pavilion, we didn't really get to spend a lot of time there, but I think that's a good start at what they're doing. They can build on that. I know it's something Scott has really wanted to build on. I think they should look at. I think the one thing I would say is going. Not to harp on the nachos, and I'm not going to mention nachos.
You keep bringing
go
it
back
up.
And look, but go back and look at the opening party of 2023 versus 2024, and just I would say learn from this year and learn from last year. And I think one thing the PCA does do is this staff has learned from stuff. Because that's the one thing I think that this event is still missing is a look. I go back to the 2000s when General did this opening gala from 2016 to 18. It was unbelievable. They would launch products there. It had a really, really good gala feel, and I just think you should reconsider that because again, happy people make a happy trade. I don't want to say people were unhappy; they weren't, right? But if you really put the smile on their face, that just continues the momentum. So, and I think this event deserves a really good party. So that's the one thing I would say on that. Because like I said, there weren't a lot of misses at this trade show. They did execute very well, for the most part.
I agree.
So, and the other thing they got to mention, I don't know about you, I still saw a lot of people with badges that they weren't supposed to be on with. So.
Well, yeah, that's saga.
And here's the new thing. Now people are turning their badges around. But I'm going to say this: one of my guys saw a group of people with a name with an industry brand owner's badge, all in duplicate. Okay, so it was this brand owner. They were all wearing the same badge with the same guy's name on it. So, and it's a very well-known person. So, this needs to be addressed. I mean, enough's enough because it affects how we're trying to do our job here. So,
Well, Kevin knows that Rolex Luther went in there with a blank badge.
Yeah. I've heard Half Wheel talk about this. I really think they would get a lot of benefit from scanning badges into the trade show.
I think
I
so
think
too.
there's a lot of. I think not just because we could know how many people on it, but I think they can learn about different patterns and things like that. I think there's data that they can collect that could be of value to the PCA. So I would love to see that. Okay, how many retailers from the Northeast stayed at the last day versus the retailers from the West? And I think there's a lot they can build. That's why I think that data would really be beneficial overall to the PCA. I know it's a little more money to implement that, but I think there'd be some value in that. At least do it for an upcoming year.
They haven't worked many years at SHOT Show. For the firearms industry, badge scanning was a major part of that show.
Yeah. We've at our trade shows, tech ones, they scan the badges.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they would be benefit with that. Have you seen? I haven't gotten the attendance numbers yet. So
I haven't either.
I was thinking they probably gonna. I think they had like 2,100 to 2,200 badges last year. I'm thinking the number at day one I thought it could hit 2,500. I'm gonna say it's between 2,400 and 2,450 is gonna be the number I'm predicting.
Total badges.
Total badge. Yeah, that's total badges. That's
not just the retailers.
Not retailers. Not just retailers. Yeah. So.
I could see
but
that.
I'd love to know how many manufacturer badges are given out too. They got too many badges, and that's why you have this problem every year.
Oh, I know.
They just, that's just in my letters at PCA. I kind of noted that because again, the media access thing. Not to dwell on it, and this is something I did mention to the PCA. It's not fair if someone who could just and look. I was offered badges to get onto the floor, and I turned it down because I respect the organization. Right, I respect the rules. I'm not trying to circumvent the rules. But in the end, people are doing it, and they're able to cover more than I am a little more efficiently because they got on a day early. So I really think they have to address. I mean, it's the right thing to do to address it. I think they took a good step this year with the new program where you get 2 free badges. So I don't think it did help me out because when you have a 6-man team, you're paying like $600 anyway. So.
Yeah,
And I was fine to pay that money. I was fine to pay that money, by the way. I was fine to pay that money. I understand you can't give out 6 free badges, but again, what I would do is I keep saying, limit the manufacturer badges, and if they need more badges, don't deny it to them, but say who's getting them, what's the business reason here. So
I agree.
I think they could fix that still.
I agree. I think there's still work to be done with that, but we've already kind of hashed that out so many times. It's kind of like the same story, but yeah, I mean there's.
But I think they took. I think they took a step this year. So
I think they did.
Them a lot.
I think they did.
I think, and we said when that change happened, it wasn't going to happen overnight. So, that's good. But the problem is, I can't whistleblow people with badges who are turned around. Right, that's the problem. Is people had their badges turned around, and it was almost like you knew, and I knew the people who had the badges turned around were media guys, too. So, we're not in with media badges. Yeah, you should absolutely have your badge always facing front.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, that pretty much sums up our PCA 2024 recap show. There was some good. There was some, I don't want to say bad, but there was some critiquing points. But it was mostly good.
I think it was
a good show.
Like I said, it was a good show. It was a good show. I gave it a B, and that's a very. I mean, I'm going back where Matt, you weren't in 2019. That was an absolute disaster, that show. And for the most part, Jay said, Jay and I are maybe splitting hairs on 2023 and 2024. It's not that this show took I'm not concerned with this show taking a downturn. It's just it was you hit a couple bumps. That's going to happen. You can't build it every year. But it'll be fine. I'm confident they'll do a good job in New Orleans. So.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to New Orleans, I think they have to do a good job.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna do it and make the big move, it's gonna go well. So I'm waiting to see how well it gets executed and kind of go from there.
Yep.
But yeah, guys, I think that's going to do it for our PCA 2024 recap show. Thank you to everyone who hung in there with us all night, and thanks for being here with us. Sorry,
absolutely,
it's been a long day.
Thank you, Kevin. Yep.
They we'll be back in 2 weeks. Sorry, in our normal scheduling time. And, don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you can get your podcasts from. And don't forget to visit SmokyTobacco.com for more news, reviews, coverage from PCA 2024, and other updates from the cigar industry. We hope you guys have a good night, and we'll see you next time.